Blue Men of Minch. Merbeing of Scotland. Physical description: blue skin, long gray face. Behavior: swims alongside ships to lure sailors into the water, but can be overwhelmed by a skilled rhymer or riddler, able to conjure storms. Habitat: underwater caverns. Distribution: the Minch, the strait between the Isle of Lewis in the Hebrides and Scotland, especially off the Shiant Islands. Possible explanations: 1. A personification of dangerous waters. 2. A folk memory of the Tuareg slaves from North Africa, taken to Scotland in the 9th century by Norse pirates and slave traders. These nomadic people are still known as Blue Men today because of their indigo robes. The wide-ranging Vikings did apparently visit North Africa and may have even engaged in some slave trading there. However, equating the two Blue Men groups seems a stretch. Giant human skeletons. Subfossil bones, skulls, and skeletons of humans or giant hominids of North America and Europe. Significant sightings. The earliest known discovery of giant's bones was near Alea, Arcadia, Greece, about 560 BC, when a blacksmith uncovered a 10-foot-long coffin containing a huge skeleton. Hailed as the bones of the Spartan hero Orestes, they were reburied in that city with great honor. Some scholars think they were the fossil remains of large animals, discovered and interred in a coffin at a much earlier time. Adrienne Major calls Herodotus' account of this event the earliest fossil measurement ever recorded. In 1509, some workers digging ditches near Rouen, France, uncovered a stone tomb that contained the skeleton of a man of enormous size. The skull was large enough to hold a bushel of corn, and the shin bone measured 4 feet in length. From this, the full height was estimated at 17 feet. On the tomb was a copper plate that identified the body as Chevalier Ricon de Vellemont. From the 1860s to the 1880s, settlers in Minnesota digging into Indian mounds excavated human skeletons 7 to 8 feet tall. In December 1868, quarry workers at Sauk Rapids found a petrified skeleton 10 feet 9.5 inches tall in a grave chamber capped by a limestone slab about 7 feet below the surface. The skull was flat on top and measured 31.5 inches in circumference. The femur was 26.25 inches long, and the fibula was 25.5 inches. A skeleton measuring 8 feet in length was discovered by George B. Dresbach Jr. while leveling an earthwork near Dresbach, Minnesota in the 19th century. 4 skeletons of men 7 to 9 feet tall were unearthed in 2 mounds near Salem, West Virginia in 1930. However, by the time anthropologist D.T. Stewart reached the site, most of the bones had disintegrated or become lost. The few remaining bones were considered to be only average size. In 1965, Kenneth White dug up a perfectly preserved skeleton under a rock ledge near Holly Creek, Kentucky, that was 8 feet 9 inches tall when reassembled. Its arms were relatively long, its hands large, and its feet relatively small. The skull was 30 inches in circumference. The eye and nose sockets were slits instead of cavities. The jawbone was solidly fused to the skull. Folklorist Michael Henson was able to examine the skeleton before it was reburied by White. In August 1965, physician Robert W. Denton discovered the top portion of an unusual skull in a boggy area in the Minarets Wilderness in Northern California. It was examined by Gerald K. Ridge, a pathologist at the Ventura County General Hospital, and by University of California, Los Angeles archaeologists Herman Bleibtreu and Jack Prost. The nuchal ridge was unusually developed, leading Ridge to think it was not human. The specimen has since been misplaced, although, according to Matt Moneymaker, it may be languishing unidentified in UCLA's off-campus museum annex in Chatsworth. Present status. Most reports are old, unconfirmed, and of dubious provenance, but they are nonetheless intriguing as possible physical evidence for Bigfoot or other giant hominids. Possible explanations. 1. Two diseases caused by oversecretion of the human growth hormone by the pituitary gland can result in enlarged body size. Acromegaly, a disorder usually caused by a benign pituitary tumor, is marked by gradual and permanent enlargement of the jaw, hands, feet, internal organs, nose, lips, and tongue. In most cases, onset occurs between the ages of 30 and 50 after normal bone growth has stopped, resulting in bones that become deformed rather than elongated. Overgrowth in the jaw causes it to protrude, and the ribs thicken, creating a barrel chest. Much rarer is gigantism, which begins abruptly in childhood before the end plates of the long bones have closed. The condition leads to exaggerated bone growth and abnormal height, with a growth rate of as much as 6 inches per year. Afflicted adults may reach a height of more than 6 feet 8 inches. 2. The unearthing of mastodon bones and other megafaunal remains undoubtedly contributed to many of these accounts. Lizard Man, bipedal reptilian entity of North America. Physical description: humanoid form, height 7 feet, greenish, grayish, or brown color. Scales, sometimes in combination with or confused with hair. Frog-like face. Glowing red eyes. 3-fingered hands. Behavior: amphibious by some accounts. Pungent odor. Tracks: 3-toed claw prints, 14 inches long, 7 inches wide, and 1 inch deep. Stride: 40 inches. Habitat: swamps and rivers. Distribution: Lake Thetis, British Columbia, Canada, Riverside, California, Dogtown, Indiana, Frederick County, Maryland, Newton, New Jersey, Cincinnati area, and Mansfield, Ohio, Scape Ore Swamp, South Carolina. Significant sightings. At 4 a.m. on May 25, 1955, Robert Honeycutt saw 3 small figures about 3 feet tall, kneeling by a road in Branch Hill, Ohio. They were grayish, with frog-like faces, a bulge on the chest, and slender arms. In July 1955, a civil defense volunteer was driving across the Little Miami River in Loveland, Ohio, when he briefly saw 4 small figures on the riverbank beneath the bridge. These events have been classed with unidentified flying object sightings, though no direct connection was established. Again, in Loveland, Ohio, police officers Ray Shockey and Mark Matthews saw a 4-foot-tall, leathery-skinned biped with a frog-like face on Riverside Road on March 3, 1972. It jumped over a guardrail and down an embankment to the Little Miami River. A similar creature was seen on March 17th. On June 29th, 1988, 17-year-old Christopher Davis was changing a flat tire near the Scape Ore Swamp southwest of Bishopville, South Carolina, when he saw a green, 7-foot-tall, scaly creature with red eyes and 3 fingers. He jumped into his car and sped away, but the creature leapt on top of his vehicle. The report inspired many misidentifications and at least one hoax over the following weeks. But Davis stuck to his story and passed a polygraph test in September. Possible explanations. 1. Except for its scaly texture and color, lizard man bears a certain resemblance to hairy biped entities in North American apes. 2. Lizard man's alien look suggests to some an origin connected to the UFO phenomenon. 3. Folklore or hoaxes based on the Gilman character from the 1954 movie Creature from the Black Lagoon. 4. A surviving Coelophysis, a small meat-eating dinosaur that lived in New Mexico in the late Triassic 210 million years ago, suggested by Eric Beckyord. However, this species did not resemble a humanoid, though it was bipedal, and it had an unmistakably long, slender, balancing tail. 5. Chris Oreck has suggested that the 1972 case involved a misidentified great gray owl, though southern Ohio is outside its normal range.